The cylinder must remain It's 4K quality. I hope you guys are ready. Are you guys ready to solve our problem?
How do you remove a mysterious cylinder from a mini M&M's tube filled with melted butter and microwaved mashed bananas without harming the cylinder? This is the question that Smart Calendar 1874 posted to Ask Reddit on December 5th of 2022. And
on your birthday, your 29th birthday, you got to solve this wonderful message? This is truly the birthday present of all time.
months ago, I decided to find the answer.
Thank you.
The original Reddit post received hundreds of responses, some helpful, offering possible solutions, some hypothesized about what the cylinder was.
Unstuck.
And even one tried to pin blame for the whole ordeal on the quote, sexy green M&M. The truth is, Smart Calendar is the only one that knows what happened that day. And after a few hours of suggestions, they disappeared with a single mysterious word. Hospital.
No!
What they meant by this remains an enigma, but before vanishing, they did provide some very useful details about the cylinder itself that would help me to recreate what they called their experiment.
Oh.
First, with it being an experiment, I assume that they're a scientist, or at the very least have an interest in steam. Second, the cylinder is 5.1 inches in length and about 4.5 inches in girth.
Hold on, let me look at my mini M&M's tube. I have one by my desk. All right, buddy. Sure. Let's pretend this is all true.
Apparently, English isn't their first language, and they didn't know the word circumference. Either way, it has a diameter of about 1.5 inches. They also said that it's made of primarily carbon and a variety of other organic compounds. This tells me that it's most likely either a hard wood-like texture or a softer one, similar to flesh. Since wood is less likely to create a seal and get stuck, I figured that the softer texture was the safe bet. Fortunately, there's a material that works perfectly for this. Silicone.
Yeah!
Even better, there are companies that specialize in making vaguely cylindrical shapes out of silicone. They're even meant to replicate the texture of flesh.
Wow!
So I reached out to a few of them and asked if they'd be interested in sponsoring the project.
I need 20 cylinders made of silicone or a similar material. I was wondering if you would be willing to help me with my experiment. I can provide exact measurements upon request. I think that given your truly impressive body of work for my specifications, it could be no problem. I would like to offer a prominent ad rate in the first half of the video in exchange for either the entire cost of the project or a discount depending on what you feel is reasonable. Due to YouTube's strict policies, I'm unable to put a link in the description. Perhaps you could provide a coupon code for viewers who choose to take patronize your fine company.
Unfortunately, none wanted to be involved with my experiment, which is why they're all blurred on screen.
Oh.
Without professional manufacturing, I had to do it myself. I may not be an expert.
I confess, hello, hi. It is in fact imperative that the cylinder remains unharmed.
Blender, but within an hour, I was able to create a CAD file that I was happy with.
Okay,
the
CAD.
The problem was that my 3D printer had decided to go full-time as a spaghetti chef.
No!
Luckily, I was able to get an old Prusa from a friend, and compared to my previous printer that required constant tinkering, it felt like cheating. So, if you're watching this, Mr. Prusa, I've got a spot in my shop that is the perfect size for a Prusa XL promotion.
Oh.
Call me.
Oh.
Anyways, I printed out
email is actually better.
Cylinder and began carefully sanding. Then I got out the clay and began to encase half of the cylinder in the stuff. As I worked, I hypothesized what experiments Smart Calendar 1874 had been working on. I like to imagine that he was designing a way of storing single-serving bratwurst using recycled materials.
Bratwurst.
But I don't know how the mashed bananas would fit in with that theory. With the edges smoothed and the sides squared off, I used a hot glue gun and cardboard to form a box. The last time I did this, I rushed through this part and ended up making a mess, so I was much more careful this time. Then I mixed up a batch of silicone and poured it over the cylinder.
Oh, we're making a mold.
After letting the silicone cure, I removed the cardboard and the clay and flipped it over to repeat the process. Perhaps Smart Calendar had used the tube to store a pickle for lunch, and it was now stuck. I know,
and he wanted the pickle whole.
Exactly a cylinder, but maybe they were approximating. When the second batch of silicone had cured, I realized there was a problem. For some reason, the two halves of the mold had fused together and entombed the cylinder inside. At first, I blamed myself for forgetting to spray mold release, but when I looked at my footage, I realized I had, so I don't really know what happened here. Luckily, I was able to use an X-Acto knife to remove the cylinder
W.
and still have a semi-usable mold. Once
The cylinder is unharmed, by the way.
again, I used mold release and poured in more silicone, praying that it wouldn't all fuse together into a single block,
Hopefully.
forcing me to restart. When I eventually end the video, I wanted to cap it all off with a quote from an expert, offering insight and inspiration. And at first, I looked to
The usable mold is for the project. We're doing a science experiment, remember?
the words of famed candy enthusiast turned poet, Marshall Bruce Mathers III. So won't the real Slim Shady please stand up? Please stand up. Please stand up. The
Yummy.
quote turned out to be both confusing and a poor fit for this story, so I decided to keep looking, but we'll get to that later. And by this point, the silicone had cured. Luckily, it hadn't fused this time,
Yay!
so I not only had a cylinder, but a new problem as well. It was too big. No matter what I tried, I couldn't get it to fit inside the tube. Now, M&Ms come in several size tubes, and I don't know what size Smart Calendar used for their experiment. What I
Maybe the size of the cylinder is wrong. Hi, Lean Machine. Hello, hi, hi, hello, hi. Bro rounded up the size of the cylinder. He might have rounded up the size of his cylinder.
did know was that I had 20 tubes in this size and a dwindling budget. So I decided to redesign the cylinder to get stuck in the tubes that I had. Before, I had the measurements from the post to go off of, but for this one, I would have to make new ones. First, I needed to make a test cone, kind of like the ones that they use for sizing rings. Except in this case, it was for cylinders. I also wanted to come up with a
Maybe the cylinder grew and expanded was inside the tube. Maybe. We might need to get more accurate with this experiment. We have to go find the original poster and look at his cylinder.
better method for making molds because the way I was making them consumed a lot of both time and materials. My first attempt was to 3D print the size tester and cast it in resin. This worked great, except for the fact that it got stuck in the resin like Excalibur.
No!
The second method was to 3D print an outer mold and then use silicone to make an inner mold. This would mean that it would use less silicone and completely eliminate mold lines. And it worked. I was able to use the size tester to measure the exact girth at which the
it looks so, usable.
cylinder would get stuck. Now, as great as Blender is, I learned that it's not good at making molds. So I tried out Tinkercad, another CAD software that I had heard was good for beginners. If you asked an engineer to make a mold using the tools I had, they would probably tell you to make a 3D printed 2-part mold. And I even had several engineers tell me to do exactly that. But I knew better. I knew I could refine my method into an even better way to make molds, and after a month and a half, I did.
Bro,
it's a 3D print.
You spent a month and a half on just the molds? We haven't even gotten to like breaking the cylinder out. Oh my fucking god. Hi Joshua, hello, hi, hello, hi. You would buy one of those under night for cylindrical M&M tube experiments, right?
A 2-part mold, like the engineer suggested, but now it has a little trough to put hot glue around the outside so it doesn't leak.
Yay!
The engineers were basically right.
Oh.
I'll be putting up a video on my Patreon soon about the whole mold design process, as well as the 3D models for the mold if you want to make your own.
You think he made cylinders for personal use? Absolutely not. He made cylinders for science only.
If you want to support the channel and see some exclusive videos, please check it out. I can't express how much it means to me.
And mom,
With my
yay,
new
mom.
mold done, I poured in the silicone and impatiently waited for it to cure. When the cylinder had hardened, I pulled it out and used an X-Acto knife to trim the flash. The month and a half of mold designing was so that I could skip this 5-minute step. And honestly, I felt pretty silly about the whole thing. Almost as silly as the moment when I was 5 weeks into the process and accidentally pushed the Minecraft button on Tinkercad, realizing that I was using software designed for children. In the end, none of that mattered, though.
Oh my god.
So I printed out 4 more molds and spent the next couple days making cylinders.
Thank you for contacting M&M's customer care. If you need further assistance, please press
Minecraft banana.
available special. Thank you for calling M&M's. My name is Myra. Who I have the pleasure of speaking with?
Hi, my name is Nate.
Thank you. And how may I help you?
I've got a bit of a weird issue. I've got a cylinder that's stuck inside one of your mini M&Ms.
No, do not the M&M's employee. No! What the hell, man?
Tubes. And I'm trying to figure out a way to get it out.
Okay. What do you mean, a cylinder?
It's kind of a soft material, kind of like silicone. And it's stuck in there. I'm trying to get it out without damaging it.
In one of our M&M tubes?
Yes.
Okay, I'm not exactly too sure how we will be able to help you with that, sir.
Okay, do you have a recommendation on who I should call?
Is it something that you ordered from us?
The M&M's tube was.
It
The
slid
cylinder
right
was
in!
Yeah, so there's nobody that would be able to help you if you got something of yours personally.
Oh my god, it's just sliding
not.
right in.
Okay, I'll start looking somewhere else for an answer then.
Pokey Lopes, hello, hi, hello, hi. Just go to the hospital. She's not paid enough for this at all. Let her not deal with this. They're also just sliding right in. Oh my god. Yeah, she can tell. She's so uncomfortable.
Thank you.
We just decline M&M.
At first, I was worried because even with the hot butter and bananas, the cylinders could be easily removed.
Oh.
But after a couple of minutes, they cooled off and created negative pressure inside the tube, rendering the cylinder stuck. The first method of removal that I tried is what I like to call caveman mode. All it really achieved was sending bits of banana and shards of plastic all over my cutting mat. I needed something with more precision, so I tried a knife. I had to be careful not to cut the cylinder with it, but it worked.
Mazel tov!
The only catch is that I took advantage of the air gap at the end. In the original post, Smart Calendar said that the cylinder was touching the end of the tube. So while it worked for me, I don't think this one counts.
I see.
Another popular suggestion on the thread was to do jumping jacks. Now, I don't know exactly how this was supposed to work, but I guess that the rapid movements were meant to fling the cylinder out of the tube. They did not. I thought maybe a quick pulling motion would work, so I hot glued zip ties to the end of the tube to make a loop and then put a harness on my cat.
Yo, the
idea
cat's
was
involved.
to secure the tube to his leash and
Of course you're using an orange cat for this. Any other color cat's not gonna work.
through a treat while I held onto the cylinder. Unfortunately, it seems that there was a defect in the design of the harness because it rendered him immobile, so this didn't work. I went back to my workshop and began grabbing random tools in the hope that they would prove useful. At first, the hammer seemed to do nothing at all, but suddenly the cylinder popped out, completely unharmed. I figured that if a manual tool worked well, then power tools must be even better. This hypothesis...
Did he ignore the part where the cylinder is attached to him? Did he ignore the part in the post where in the comments he says the cylinder's attached to him? Or like the cylinder is like attached to something sturdy? What was it that he said in the comments? The cylinder's like attached to something?
proved false.
Oh my god,
The
he's
saw
squeezing it.
had almost no precision and
Oh.
only succeeded
Oh.
in making a mess of banana and plastic.
The cylinder is very harmed.
The sander was even worse. Not only did it damage the cylinder, but it didn't even manage to remove it from the tube.
Oh my
At
god.
first, I thought my Dremel had worked, but as I cleaned the butter and banana off the freed cylinder, I found a cut running all
the
the way down the side
cylinder!
of it. I thought maybe I was going from the wrong direction, so I clamped the cylinder in my drill press and gave that a shot.
Oh god.
Initially, it
Oh, God!
didn't work, so
Sounding!
I tried a larger
Sorry.
drill bit. But the vise lost its grip, and I had to turn it
Oh!
off.
Oh my god!
It took me a moment to
Hop it though. Please do not do that to the cylinder. Hi, Jed. Hello. Hi. Hello. Hi. Do not the cylinder.
realize it, but the cylinder had actually been flung out of the M&M tube.
Oh!
I was about
Wait, the cylinder's free!
to call it a success when I realized that the process had torn the tip of the cylinder.
No! Not the tip of the cylinder.
It wasn't a total loss, though. While
Free with a reduction.
I tried to secure the cylinder in the vise,
Uh-huh.
I noticed that the pressure it put on the tube was starting to squeeze it out.
Oh.
So I tried again, but this time I didn't stop squeezing.
Oh.
And it worked. I just had to keep turning the vise, and eventually it simply popped out.
No.
This gave me an idea.
Hop it though.
Not everyone has access to a vise, but a lot of people have access to cars. So
No!
I decided to check to see if this same method
No!
worked vehicularly.
No.
The first time I tried it, the entire thing just popped out from under the wheel, and I had to stop out of fear of running over my camera.
Okay.
The second time I tried, I heard a pop and was happy to find that it had worked. While both of these methods were successful, I don't know if the actual cylinder can withstand this kind of force, so I kept testing. Adding pressure had worked, so I wondered what would happen if I used negative pressure. I put it in my
Hi, Tony. Hello. Hi. Hi. Hello. Hi.
vacuum chamber, and nothing happened. It impotently sat in there for over half an hour,
I
and
see.
it might as well have not been in the chamber at all.
I see.
I genuinely thought that this was going to work, and I was starting to feel disheartened. So I looked for new inspiration. I still hadn't found that quote for the end of the video, but I was listening to American Prometheus, and I found one by Robert Oppenheimer that fit much better than the Eminem quote from earlier. There must be no barriers to freedom of inquiry. There is no place for dogma in science. The scientist is free, and must be free, to ask any question, to doubt any assertion, to seek for any evidence, to correct any errors. While his words didn't quite fit the video, they did inspire me to try a different approach. Chemistry. Acetone is famous for being able to melt plastic, but whatever these tubes are made of seems to be resistant to it. After soaking for 2 days, it had no effect. If chemistry wouldn't work, then maybe temperature would. So I got out my heat gun.
Thermal. Oh god, we're getting really scary with the cylinder. Couldn't you just squeeze the far end with pliers and force it a little, then cut out the end off and pull it off with said pliers? Well, he went to the hospital. It's probably what the hospital ended up doing. I used to own a screwdriver set which had a label saying to not shove it up your dick hole, meaning someone did that then sued the company when they hurt themselves. They really just be doing anything and blaming the company, huh?
First, nothing happened, so I turned it up, and slowly it began to work. The plastic tube had a lower melting point than the cylinder, but in the end, it just melted onto the silicone, ensuring that they would never separate. I figured that maybe it needed to be even hotter, so I got out a butane torch.
No!
And it did a much better job of melting the plastic.
We're cooking this.
Is that the cylinder was definitely harmed in the process. It also made my garage smell like melted plastic and chocolate banana bread.
Oh.
Weirdly, it also kept burning for nearly 10 minutes after I had turned off the torch. I think it was the butter. Anyways,
probably.
I needed something that was both hot, but had enough precision to not burn the cylinder. So I got out my soldering iron.
Oh.
Now, this isn't the one I use for actual soldering. I have a good one for that. This is the $10 one that I use for things like wood burning or melting plastic. And it worked well here. I don't know if the real cylinder could withstand brief contact with 500-degree metal.
Probably not.
The silicone one could. On the off chance that the real one couldn't, though, I kept searching. Another popular suggestion from the original thread was to take a bath. While it did a great job of clearing my head, it didn't solve the problem. But it did give me the idea
What the fuck? What the fuck? What the fuck? Sorry. What the hell?
My head, it didn't.
Why are you laying on the side with this? Why would you not be laying the other way? What the fuck? The video is called Solving Reddit's Cylinder Problem with Science.
Solve the problem, but it did give me the idea to try hotter water. And while that did work, it still had the same problem as the soldering iron. I didn't know if the cylinder could withstand that much heat. So I decided to go back to the acetone. Someone on Reddit had suggested a very different use for it. You see, it's...
Wait. Sorry. Let me read that post again. I'm an engineer, so your best bet here is to use pressure. Imagine the piston in an engine. That's your not dick. When pressure builds up, i.e. combustion inside a cylinder, it pushes the piston out. Don't try to argue this. Pistons never get stuck in the up, top, dead center of position. You need to poke a hole in the end of your M&M tube and inject some accelerant. Nail polish remover will be perfect, and simply add fire near the hole and boom, your cylinder and tube will no longer be stuck together.
Did a very different use for it. You see, it's flammable. Really flammable. So I used the soldering iron to make a hole at the end of the tube and filled it with acetone using a syringe. Then I put on gloves and got behind a protective shield and lit it, hoping that the rapidly igniting chemical would push the cylinder out. That was the idea, at least. In reality, it didn't really even ignite. And once again, I was left feeling silly.
No.
At this point, I was down to a single tube, and I still didn't have a method that could remove the cylinder without some sort of caveat. But then, I remembered the final word of Smart Calendar 1874. Hospital. There is a tool that pretty much every hospital in America has that is almost purpose-built for this exact situation.
Is there?
A cast saw. While at a glance, it looks like it could cut through just about anything, the rapidly oscillating blade makes such small movements that the natural flexibility of skin prevents it from doing damage. This means that it can cut through rigid materials like plaster or wood, but leave softer materials like skin or silicone unharmed. While I couldn't find a hospital willing to donate their cast saw to my experiment, I realized that I could just buy one online.
Oh. Okay, buddy.
We scientists are driven by our demand for knowledge, an insatiable hunger that has blessed humanity with miracles.
Why are we starting at that
and
tip there?
Cursed us with atrocities. Science has no conscience, no morals. It is what we give it, and it deserves nothing less than the best of ourselves. We are scientists, engineers, artists, makers, and fools. We have caged the photon, saddled fire to carry humanity to the stars, and coerced the atom into reducing two cities to ash. We are capable of the incredible and terrifying. And yet, we must always remember one thing. Never stick your cylinder in a tube of mini M&Ms.
True. Thank you, man. Thank you for your experiment. Hospital. Oh my god. The cylinder is saved. It is imperative the cylinder remains unharmed. You fool, OP cylinder was attached to a larger object. How could you forget this crucial detail? That's what I'm saying. What would Iris do if she's granted her one wish of getting a cylinder? I would helicopter my cylinder. That's what I would do with my cylinder. Every failed attempt is psychological body horror. Now, why would you do that? Curiosity. My cylinder hurts just watching this. The dude definitely exaggerated the size of a cylinder. No, for sure. Bro, he had to prepare 20 cylinders. This was good science. This was good science right here. I'm glad I watched that. Oh, that was worth the wait. I thought about that all night.